Your name's not down, you're not coming in.
Hey there, just a quick message ahead of this episode to say we hope you like the rebrand, which includes a new website, rawuk.com. That's the URL. On there you can listen to and watch all our previous content. You can get extra content. You can also buy our first ever Raw merchandise and even sign up to become a Raw member, which will keep us going and keep you at the heart of this exciting journey, earning perks in return. We need your support, so please do check us out at rawuk.com and remember to like, comment and subscribe to everything we do on all our channels. And of course, make sure you tell all your pals. But most of all, enjoy this latest episode. Cheers. Hello, Tom Latcham here. You're listening to Raw, the 90s Rave podcast. Thanks for joining us yet again for another cracking episode. Here at Raw, our aim is to reflect the 90s rave scene from all around the UK and potentially even further afield, indeed. And this week we roll into Manchester. Today's guest is one of the Northwest rave scene's most loved sons. He played at the legendary Hacienda Club before going on to play at the Eclipse, Quest, Amnesia House, Bowlers, Club Kinetic, Destruction, Fantasia, Shelley's, Universe, Uprising, Vibalite, and more. Famed for his high-energy sets, he was also a top radio presenter and even a brief pop star. He is, of course, the one and only Stu Allan. So let's say hello to him. Hello, mate. How you doing?
Well, a big hello. Pop star. I don't know about that. But anyway, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
You were on top of the pop.
Later. I was stood at the side watching. I'll let the other two do what they did, but we'll go into that later.
Listen, mate. If we're saying you're a pop star, wear the t-shirt, mate, because you know what? Not many of us can say that. How are you?
I'm great, yeah, and surprisingly well after this very strange year we've had. But yeah, you learn over the years to plod on, and make the best of what you've got, and just what you've got basically. And
that's a very.
I still count as blessed,
That's a very healthy way of viewing it, and we'll come on to all of that later. But as we are a 90s rave podcast, I do want to kick off by asking you general questions really around the 90s rave scene, as we often do when we start these interviews. So you've played all kinds of rave music over the years, including the 90s. There was a whole range as well. But what is it about the 90s rave scene and 90s rave music that you fell in love with and that has kept you very much involved in the music and the scene to this very day?
Well, I've always, right from the beginning, it's just like quality, good dance music. Even before house came along in the 80s, I was still liking things to dance to, basically, as well as lots of other stuff. But it was just a progression, of the original house that I was playing, when it started, and it just grew and grew, and then things just move on, don't they? And then, it was a bit of a magical year of 1990 where raves in their very accessible form really kicked off. And that really kicked off in my kind of DJing career as well, to be playing beyond the northwest of England as well. That's, in 1990, although I was doing a few of the bits, but 1990 was definitely the year. And down at the Eclipse in Coventry, was where I was booked to play in that year, early in 1990, and it was unbelievable because that place was open Friday and Saturday all night. I mean, that sounds like nothing these days, but back in 1990, if you had you had to close at 2 or on occasions 3 if you were lucky, anywhere in the country. And as well that weekends, were reserved for the more commercial sort of clubs, the Roxy's and the Icons or whatever they were called back then. Horrible, places that we sometimes played at on a Monday night and things, back then, because the weekend was just all pop music basically. So arriving at the Eclipse, seeing the people who were there were, proper ravers. All the other DJs who were on the same bill were just, we were all in that scene pretty up and coming. I'd be there and you'd be meeting these and make lifelong friendships with these DJs. Sasha, Carl Cox, would get a Prodigy PA because they were just starting out, and we'll give them a go, that sort of thing. unbelievable place. And for all the years I ever played there, it was the same vibe, but everybody was just getting more and more popular. The place, like I say, was hammered every Friday and Saturday, incredible place. So that's where the main thing started for me. And obviously for lots of other DJs and ravers was that year 1990 in that club. I know other places were going on, but that was my experience there.
And you then, having got the bug, really threw yourself into it, absolutely immersed yourself in the scene, and you played a significant role in its growth, and particularly, and I know that you say around the country, but particularly in the Northwest where you're from, and you had all those radio shows where you were showing people this new sort of music, and again we'll come on to that. But how do you view the Northwest's contribution to the 90s rave scene? It was big in its contribution, definitely. Again, go that slightly bit before without into too much detail, but when the house music started, it was definitely, not primarily, but, a very, in its style, was definitely a northern thing. London and places, Nottingham, all those, they were all playing it without a doubt, and everything, but it was certainly more popular in the north, whether it was the northwest of England, definitely, and then up into even Scotland and the northeast and whatever. So, the northwest was, it was a bit more kind of ravey, can we say, and dare I say, on occasions, a bit cheesier. but that didn't matter because it was just like, come on, and just get on with it, Well, there are some questions coming about the cheesy nature of some of the music later on. We'll come to that. So in a way, you feel like the Northwest actually sort of heralded the birth of rave. I know there's been documentaries about the Blackburn scene and things like that. So, the Ascot scene in the late 80s and things like that. So that's interesting. What do you think that your personal contribution did for the developing rave scene? And again, particularly in the Northwest, or I suppose just given it was starting in the Northwest, I suppose to the whole of the UK.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of my bit would have been playing the music on the radio more than anything. Because there was all ages listening and in their droves, which was brilliant. People would hear what I'm playing because I would be playing most of the stuff there before lots of others would have heard it at the time. Lots of reasons behind that, but they just go, oh, he'll play it. And on a Sunday night, I'd play all these, bizarre tracks, and people go in on the following day or whatever. DJs would as well with a list after hearing the show the night before, and and fill their record boxes that way. So I suppose, obviously I was DJing as well, going to all these different clubs DJing. But it was what I was playing on Piccadilly Radio and then became Key 103 on a Sunday night, because that's where you would hear and find out what the tracks were as well. If you went to a club, you would be ending up singing the tunes in the record shop. Have you got no tune? And they go, I think I know the one you mean. Yeah, right.
We really hope you're enjoying yet another one of Raw's in-depth interviews about the rave scene, which we are proud to say are now all curated into the British Library Sound Archive. All of us here at Raw HQ love how much you love what we do, and your generous one-off donations have been a huge help in covering our initial costs. But we're now a team of 5, putting in a combined 80 hours a week for no wages, with big plans to expand further, and so our costs are going up. As such, we could really use your help to keep Raw growing and developing, as you've seen us do since our launch in July 2020. First up, go and check out our brand new website. It's rawuk.com, where you can find loads of cool extra content, and you can grab Raw's first ever range of merchandise. That's rawuk.com for our new flashy website. We've also launched a new membership scheme where you can support us financially to create more content on an ongoing basis for less than the price of an oat milk cappuccino, plus you get great perks in return. Head to patreon.com/rawukpods. That's patreon.com/rawukpods to see exactly what's on offer. You can also join our YouTube membership, which is basically the same. Or if you're not asked about a membership, but you'd like to support us with a few quid as a one-off or a repeat donation, then head to our website and click the PayPal link. A reminder of that new website URL, yet again, rawuk.com. Big love and respect to you all. Please keep supporting us. Hope you enjoyed the rest of the act. Still here with Mr. Stu Allan, the man, the legend, the Northwest man, the legend, but also just generally in the rave scene. We're going to talk now about his early years and how he became a DJ. I mean, in the night, we're going to focus more on the 90s, of course, because that's what we are as a podcast. But you can't ignore people, what their upbringing and what they went through before they got to that point, and you did a lot. So we're going to sort of start there. A lot of the ravers in the Northwest will know you from your radio shows, Piccadilly Radio, and then it turned to Key 103. You came big personality there. But you're not originally from Manchester, of course. We learned that. You grew up in Anglesey. You said it was a great upbringing, but it's not known as a hotbed for DJs, and it's certainly not known as a hotbed for DJs playing predominantly black music, as you did at the very start. So how did you end up doing that in Anglesey?
Well, DJing-wise, back in those days, if you wanted to DJ, you would just be a wedding DJ or, that sort of thing. Although there weren't really any nightclubs as such. There'd be like a function room in a hotel might have a bit of what they'd call a disco night on a Friday or whatever. So it was pretty rubbish, in nightlife in that way. So it never occurred to me, although I was playing records at home, to actually think of yourself as a DJ never really crossed my mind in those days, because DJing, like I say, was just like playing one to another with a bit of, okay, a wonderful record there, and all this. Absolute shite. So why would you want to do that anyway? So the art of DJing, as we know it, or what it became, just didn't really exist. I was playing music at home constantly. But
how did that come about? Because was it a musical family? Were your parents into that sort of music? How did you discover this music when you're on an island off North Wales?
Well, I don't think it matters where you are. You can love music obviously anywhere, but the getting access to it is a bit different. My mum had the radio on all the time, so I was hearing pop music constantly. As in way back, late 60s stuff. My dad liked jazz. He played lots of, Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong and all these sort of things at home. So you could hear all these different styles of things going on. A cousin of mine, he liked the Shadows. So what I was going to say was that before decks were, you'd never, like lots of people now go, I've got to get my decks, Back then, I've got to get a guitar, and that's what I did. I just got a guitar and played in a band. The late 70s, before the moving to Manchester thing came in. I was doing that, and then. So
do you view yourself as musical then?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's in my blood. Seriously, I know it sounds that and is another cliche, but it's just there right from the beginning. The day I got that guitar, when I was about 9, I think, I got this secondhand guitar from the local paper advert, and bought that, and constantly played this guitar, learning. So the fingers on there were just raw, from playing that often, and they toughened up, and away I went. And that was it. I was just had to keep, it's music all the time. Yeah, and I used to listen to John Peel, had his evening show, 10 till midnight all those years ago, and I was religiously listening to that again. Vast different styles of music there, but he would fit in some reggae and even some funky tunes or whatever. And one that he did play. Back in 81, I think, around that time. And he played Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel, where if anyone who hasn't heard that yet, do go and search for that, because that was the days before samplers and computers even. Obviously there were overlaid, edited bits, but this was a guy on 2 turntables, mainly using Sheik's Good Times as his main backing, but he cut all these things in and scratching, but I didn't know he was doing that. I was like, what is that sound? And I honestly had no idea that he was moving the track, the vinyl, got back, all this sort of thing. This was 1981. I was like, I don't get this. And then when I found out this was on turntables, because you couldn't YouTube it, there was no internet, and all this sort of thing. So I had to really look into that and thinking, how the hell has he made this tune? And that was the tune. I thought, I want to do that. Whether I was going to be successful on it or not, it wasn't even crossing my mind. But I needed to get on turntables to do it that way and not just play music. I needed to be creative, really. And that hip hop and that style of music allowed you to do that.
Okay, so there's a very vast difference between listening to John Peel and having a turntable and then becoming what you became. So where did the idea that you could become a DJ, regardless of whether it was the sort of a radio DJ or if it was a rave DJ, a dance music DJ or a hip hop DJ or whatever it was, where did you decide, actually, I am musical, I do have a deck, I have an interest in this, I can turn this into a career?
Yeah, well, again, I never had a plan. It was all just the love of music was spurring me on, and I managed to get into Piccadilly Radio after I moved to Manchester. This was in 1984, and I managed to get in there and eventually pester them enough to get a job. And this was all behind the scenes, as in production and all the rest of it. And then 2 years later, I was still doing all that. But then the guy who had the regular slot on a Sunday, playing soul music, really, was going off for 6 weeks to do with some other jobs. So the bosses at the radio stations went, oh, you like that kind of music, don't you? Do you want to do it? It was like that. And I went, yeah. And then shit myself thinking, why have I said yes? This is, I was so nervous. But and that's how it started, because I did the 6 weeks, and during the 6 weeks, just purely because I knew what to play, because when you're into certain music, and you don't play all the wrong tunes. There was letters, not emails in those days, just loads and loads of letters and everything coming in saying, this is brilliant. Where is all this music? And I was playing. It was a soul show, but I started the show with Farley Jackmaster from Love Can't Turn Around as my first tune. Because I just saw it as an opportunity to play good current music that was predominantly black music, as house music always was back then, and alongside soul. And I thought, I'm going to throw some hip hop in as well. That's black music as well. I'm going to throw that in. And it became this amalgamation of different styles like that. Of then, there was no such thing, of the show anyway, of old school. Everything was incredibly new, and it just progressed from there. And
if people were impressed by you finding all these tunes, where were you finding those tunes?
Well, as the show went on, there was a shop called Spinning in Manchester, which was on Cross Street in Manchester in its original place, and they would get these things, and they were really, Trax Records, DJ International Records, all these labels that were new from America, because we all played imports and stuff back then, really, mainly. And there was the record rep, and he used to come in and go, I've got one, and they were just one-offs. They weren't like a box or anything. They were just like one-offs. And so, can you do anything with these? Because I've been down London and various other shops down there, and they don't want them. They all want like Rare Groove or whatever. So they just said, well, just keep them on. Well, Stu Allan, I'll let him have a listen and see if it. And I'm like playing them going, wow, this is amazing. You know, like proper early stuff, you know, Marshall Jefferson, Adonis, and everybody. You know, I'm like, whoa, this is stuff, you know, brand new names back then. I'm like, wow, this is very different and absolutely brilliant at the same time. So I was just playing them on the Sunday show, you know, much to the annoyance of the bosses of the radio station. You know, they're going, what are you doing? What is this music? And I went, well, it's just what I think's right, you know, let's just, you know, play this. I just want to play it alongside, you know, very sort of accessible soul music as well. And you go, oh no, you should be playing, you know, Al Jarreau and George Benson, really. I'm going, well, if they bring out a decent tune, I'll play it. But at the moment, they haven't, you know what I mean, at that time. So anyway, it just became the fact that he just said, well, okay, well, we'll give it sort of a couple of months, 3 months, and if the ratings aren't very good, we'll do it our way. And if they're okay, we can see, you know, doing it your way. And the ratings were the biggest of that time on a Sunday night the radio station ever had.
Wow.
And I just couldn't believe it. And I was like, whoa, you know, because it's just the way it was, and I was just obviously happy about that.
Smashed it. Did you absolutely smashed it by the sound of it? Is that something that's characterized your career? Is that sort of like, no, I'm going to play what I want, and I'm sort of right? Yeah,
kind of. But you still, you know, have to. On the radio, it's different. I was kind of educating, really, you know, without realizing it. I was just playing, oh, this is something really, really new, or this isn't going to come out for months or whatever, you know, because record companies would start, once they realise the show is Matt, you start getting mailed hundreds of bloody records every week, you know, and you go, oh God. But yeah, but that's fine on the radio. I still do that to this day, you know, where I will think, oh, I found some nice new tunes. I'm going to play the new tunes, you know. But in a club, it's different. You can't. I've never been that arrogant as a DJ in a club, you know. And much to the annoyance of about 3 people in the corner going, "Oh, he's always fucking playing this one," you know what I mean? You get that all the time. But then you look in front and like hundreds of people are going, yes, you know, yes, well, I'll get bored of playing the odd one, you know what I mean? But
you're a renowned crowd pleaser, and everyone says it, and that's why people love you, right? Because, you know, the majority love you. But are there artists who would do what you just said and they don't give a fuck and they're that arrogant that they play what they want?
I see it. I've seen it loads, yeah. And
big names?
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because
no. But are some of them big names?
Oh yeah. Even right back from the rave scene, which I'm sure we'll go back to eventually. But yeah, while the proper big rave scene was going on, it was all new tunes. You know, I'd only have stuff in my box that was no more than 2 months old. You know what I mean? You'd keep certain ones that were guaranteed floor fillers. And then you pick up some fantastic new tunes, you know, and play those. Only if I knew it was right for the crowd, though. But yeah, you know, you'd get such and such DJ would come on, and even though half the crowd had just walked away, he was going, "I'm still playing anyway, head down." You know, and you think, what is that? But, you know, that's the way they want to be. That's fine. But yeah.
The question is, what's the opposite of a crowd pleaser? That's what they don't think there's not a term for it, is there?
No, well, the bar got busy a few times, but that was it. No smoke area then.
And just to quickly go back to your move from Anglesey to Manchester, was it purely driven by your desire to uncover new music, to get into the music industry?
It was really, yeah. Knowing that on the musical side, yeah, I was in this, like I said, it was a band that was just very local, you know, and it's a local band from local people. And there was all that, but it was great and all the rest of it, but obviously just wouldn't carry on. So, and I was where I was working in Anglesey was I was made redundant. There was big closures back then, the good old Thatcher regime, you know, and all that. So they just took half the workforce down. So I thought, I've got to move somewhere. Right. And literally 2 weeks after being made redundant, I was living in a bed sit in West Didsbury.
Why Manchester?
Well, I was looking at the way the music was, the club side of things, especially the soul and funk venues back then. There was Greg Wilson doing, he did a Wednesday night in Legend, and this was 1982, and he was also doing a Tuesday night in Wigan Pier, which was the original Wigan Pier scene, and various other places. And I'd heard about this, and there was Mike Shaft on Piccadilly Radio on a Sunday afternoon, things like that. And I just, you tune in and you're going, wow, stuff you just wouldn't get, obviously, in North Wales, So, yeah, it was, I had to make the move unless I wanted to become a bored farmer or something,
Well, I think history has proven you did make the right decision, Stu.
Yeah,
so,
I'm very lucky at the same time.
I mean, what a shame for us all if you had ended up being a farmer, I think. I mean, the farming industry might have been missing out, but the rave industry, very, very happy with your decision. Fast forward a bit, and you'd been on the radio for some time, very successful. Everyone, really rated you. During some of those early days, you accidentally gave Gerald Simpson, who's AKA a guy called Gerald, his now famous name.
Apparently,
I really want to hear. This is a great story. So please do tell us how this came to pass.
Well, I kind of remember saying it, because what happened was Gerald was this guy, again, up and coming. He had an 808 drum machine, a 303 bassline machine, where the acid sound, the original acid sounds came from. And he used to just sit in I think he was just living in a bedsit in Rusholme and messing about. Fantastic. I was like, and he used to just bung all these jams really on cassettes. And it'd be just 808 beats, fantastically programmed. And again, the 303 acidy bass lines going with it. And I'm like, shit, this is unbelievable. And he used to just give me these tapes to you think of this, you think of it. Talking way back, 88, 89, that sort of thing. 88-ish sort of time. And so I'd listen to, I was like, wow. So I'd dub off the cassette onto reel-to-reel tapes, is what we played on the radio. Play, just dub off like 3 or 4 minutes worth, of the odd track. Play it on the radio and just go, wow, there's a local guy called Gerald. He's absolutely amazing. He's just, listen to this, blah, 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 blah. And then, and he said, he's not an artist, no, he's just a guy called Gerald. And apparently that's how I'll just call you that, man. And there's a guy called Gerald. Perfect.
That's amazing. And have you talked to him about how that you helped him get that name since?
No, I don't think there's ever been a conversation, but yeah, we still, whenever we see each other, we're always very pleased to see each other.
I'm
Big
sure.
respect between each other. He's a brilliant guy and very, very talented to this day.
And who else have you, if anybody, have you helped to succeed in the rave scene?
Apart from giving them loads of publicity by playing their music, I don't know as anything as direct, really, to be quite honest. I've helped as many DJs as possible by just, again, like do a mix, I'll play it on the radio, that sort of thing.
Here's a question, have you heard anyone's first tunes, like their earliest tunes, and played them out on the radio, and they're now there?
Oh, I see. But, well, again, that I've given them publicity by having them on the show for an interview, or making sure I will play their tunes, and that way loads will, and if I was to big it up and just say, this is an amazing tune, people will believe that, and well, they obviously believe themselves if it's a decent enough tune. But I've helped them lots of people in that way, but not consciously, really. Do you know what I mean? But I've just not gone, I'm going to make you a star.
No, I don't mean that. I mean that you played someone's tune and you thought this is brilliant, and then they've gone on to be.
Oh yeah, that's happened lots of times. Yeah, which is really nice. But I never go up to go, remember when I played that? Don't forget me now. None of that. But yeah,
well, that's good, because that would make you a twat, and you're not a twat, Stu. So,
exactly.
So, Stu, during our research, we came across an amusing line in an interview where you said you popped into a shoom night at Legend in Manchester during the early days of Rave, and you didn't like it. You said you didn't like the way the ravers were dressed and the way they were dancing. So what made you change your mind? Because it's sort of important to your latter career, really.
I do remember it, yeah, because it was a club I was DJing at on a Saturday night, which was Legend, where Greg Wilson used to do the early 80s, then Chad Jackson and people like that. And then I took over right up to 1990. and I think Danny Ramplin and a couple of others they managed to get in there on a Monday. And it was around 1990 time, I think, because that's where I was getting a bit, the rave scenes, in certain pockets was changing so much. And I do like the tracks. I like them more now than I did then, to be honest, because there's tracks like Numero Uno, Starlight, those sorts of tunes. Very untraditional house. So this Italian, sorts of things, all just loads of sampley things and thrown together. And the whole vibe was just very different from, like I said, the house music has always been, and my crowds were sort of 75% black, as because that was the music, that's how it was. And I went into shoe and it was like, not like that at all. Everyone was having a good time. Never knock anybody for that. But it was a very different crowd. It was with the sort of loose, baggy, clothy things that went on to be a fashiony thing, really. And it was just very different. I think a lot of people watching now and hearing this would not maybe get it, but the nights, the traditional house nights were just, everyone was so into the music in its traditional form, you know what I mean? It was very noisy, very bassy, all this kind of thing. And then suddenly this was a different thing. And it was quite, I don't want to mention words because it almost sounds racist, and obviously it isn't, but it was a complete change of crowd. With that style, it happened at the Hacienda as well. It had changed quite a lot, and that was quite a shock in a way. I wasn't like, oh, but I was like, whoa, this is not what we had before. So things were starting to change big time, but it wasn't my kind of favorite music, so I didn't really play much of that at that time. I'll dig a few out to play on the radio now, but not then.
Why wasn't it your sort of music? What was it about it that you weren't into?
Like I say, it was too much of a change. Like if you can imagine the like the good Chicago house stuff that we were, even that was progressing, and acid house and things, and then all of a sudden, like Numero Uno comes along with these. The way the piano sound was, it was very brash. It was very commercial in its sound as well, very poppy, and that again, it was just not underground at all in its sound. But it all became big hits and things. They all crossed over more than the Chicago ones did, I suppose. So that's probably why they did it, obviously. But yeah.
So when did you realise actually I do quite like this stuff and I'm going to start playing?
Well, I still didn't play that sort of thing much in a club. I don't know what the last time I've ever played that Numero Uno or any of that stuff in a club ever, really, to be honest. Radio-wise, it sounds great. It sounds great on the radio, but no, it was more. When 1990 was coming along for me, I was playing more quartz and that sort of meltdown sound. And then some little breakbeaty things, Shut Up and Dance, were starting to get their act together with some really different stuff. There was Take It Easy.
Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. Find time to free your soul. Take it easy.
And Nicolette. And
Single-minded people, they can always find a way. Single-minded people, they can always find a way. Single-minded people, they can...
these sort of very British, music was starting alongside. I was playing, like some of the Belgian-y things, but yeah, it was quite nice to see some British breakbeaty things. Very different, very different.
Well, that's it for another episode of Raw, and if you like what you've heard, we'd love you to get involved. All of us here at Raw HQ buzz hard off how much you, the Raw crew, enjoy our work, and your generous cash donations have been a huge help since our launch. But we're now a team of 5, putting in combined 80 hours a week for no wages. We've got loads of plans to go further, expand our team and offer, but that does mean that our costs are also increasing. So we could really use your help to keep Raw growing and developing, as you've done since we started. So please do check out our website. Initially, it's rawuk.com for interesting extra content and to get your hands on our first ever range of Raw merchandise. That's rawuk.com. We've also launched a new membership scheme where you can donate to create more interesting and fun content on an ongoing basis, and you'll even get stuff in return. So head to patreon.com/rawukpods. That's patreon.com/rawukpods to see what's on offer. You can also join our YouTube membership, which is the same, or if you're not bothered about membership but you'd like to support us with a few quid as a one-off or repeat donation, head to our website and click the PayPal link. That website URL, one more time, rawuk.com. Respect to you for your support and for getting to the end of this episode. Please keep supporting us and help ensure there's more quality content coming your way on a regular basis. Oi, oi.